Hello everyone, my name is Yomei Zhou and I'm a propulsion engineer here at SpaceX. Thanks for joining the OneWeb Launch 17 mission, which marks our 215th overall mission to date. As the mission name suggests, this is OneWeb's 17th overall launch and third with SpaceX. Similar to our previous launches with OneWeb, today's launch will also send 40 OneWeb satellites into low Earth orbit, bringing their LEO constellation to 582 satellites in orbit.
Good call out there. We are beginning to retract that strong back. And we do move it away to clear the way for Falcon 9's ascent.
And while we're waiting for TE retraction, we'll see the clamp arms just below the fairing halves. You can see them starting to open right now. And following the clamp arms opening, the TE will begin to pull away from the rocket slightly. And then at T0, the ground hydraulic systems will pull the TE even further away from Falcon 9 as it lifts off. You can see those clamp arms opening there just below the fairing. Now the first stage is connected to a launch mount at the base of the transporter erector, but the structure is hinged, so it will retract away from the vehicle in preparation for launch.
T-minus 15. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just full power. And liftoff, OneWeb 3.
Vehicle switching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Nominal power and telemetry.
Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Pad 40 at Cape Canaveral, carrying the OneWeb Launch 17 payload. Now we're still going up, but we're also heading horizontally away from the launch pad. And coming up in just a few seconds here, we will be approaching the point of max Q. There we go, call out for that there. At the point of max Q, we throttle the Merlin 1D engines down briefly to reduce the loads on the vehicle. We've now throttled the engines back up to full power, and this will help us continue to accelerate towards low Earth orbit. The rocket typically needs to go about 17,500 miles per hour.
MVAC engine chill has started.
Good call out there for MVAC engine chill. We need to go about 17,500 miles per hour horizontally in order to avoid being pulled back down to Earth and actually get into orbit. So keep an eye on that stage 1 telemetry at the bottom of your screen. Now coming up, we're going to have 5 events in very quick succession. Those are main engine cutoff, or MECO, stage separation, stage 1 flip, second engine start 1, boost back burn, and then from there, the fairing halves will separate. So keep an eye out for those events. Again, starting with main engine cutoff, coming up on that point in just about 15 seconds here, so let's listen in for that.
Main engine cutoff.
Stage separation confirmed.
MVAC ignition. Stage 1 boost back startup.
And there you go. You just heard and saw main engine cutoff, stage separation, stage 1 flip, and second engine start 1. Now we are in the middle of the boost back burn, which you can see on the left side of your screen there. That first stage has flipped around and is burning 3 of its Merlin 1D engines to head back towards the launch site, while the MVAC on the right is pushing the second stage into low Earth orbit. Now today's mission is what we call a RTLS, or return to launch site. And that's actually where we return the first stage back to a landing pad that is actually very close to where we took off from. Now this burn should last about 50 seconds, so we have about 10 seconds left in the boost back burn. Both stages continue to look nominal.
Stage 1 boost back shutdown.
And there we go. Just had confirmation of successful boost back burn shutdown. Coming up next in just a few seconds, we will separate those fairing halves and should get a good view of our payload.
Fairing separation confirmed.
There we go. Just had successful confirmation of boost back burn end and the successful separation of both the fairing halves from the second stage. Now, both of these halves on today's mission are flying for the 6th time, and we will be attempting to retrieve them again today once they fall back to Earth using our recovery vessel, Bob.
Start of our stage 1 landing burn. It's great drone footage of the first stage that you can see on the right-hand side of your screen. Incredible views from first stage coming down on
Stage
landing
1
zone.
land and let deploy.
That was a beautiful landing.
Stage 1 land at the press.
MVAC shutdown.
Had that call out for MVAC shutdown. Just waiting on confirmation of a good orbit.
Nominal orbit insertion.
You just heard that good call out for nominal orbital insertion. The mission isn't over yet. The second stage is now embarking on its first coast phase. Now, after this coast phase, we will relight that MVAC engine for a second time around the T plus 55-minute mark. So we'll see you back here in about 45 minutes.
OneWeb, Sat Alpha 1 and Alpha 5, separation confirmed.
And there we go. Confirmation of successful deployment of OneWeb Sat A1 and A5. Looks like we did get some live video coverage of that.
OneWeb, Sat Alpha 4 and Alpha 8, separation confirmed.
Good news there, we did just separate another 2 OneWeb satellites, A4 and A8. Our next payload deploy should be coming up in just about 45 seconds or so. So far, we have deployed 4 out of the total 40 OneWeb satellites. And as a reminder, we have 14 total deployments in this particular sequence, so that leaves us 10 more satellites to deploy. And also, just as a reminder, the last 4 satellites may happen in the blackout period where we do not have ground station coverage, but we will confirm successful deployment of those on our next connection to a ground station.
OneWeb, Sat Bravo 1 and Bravo 5, separation confirmed.
There we go. 2 more OneWeb satellites, B1 and B5, have been separated. Getting some really cool views here of these payloads as they float off into space.
OneWeb, Sat Charlie 1 and Charlie 5, separation confirmed.
There go the next two, C1 and C5, have successfully deployed. Should be another 20 seconds or so until the next payload deploy.
OneWeb, Sat Alpha 2 and Alpha 6, separation confirmed.
There we go, 2 more satellites deployed there. Got a great shot of those satellites floating off into space. A2 and A6 have successfully deployed. So our next set of satellites should be deployed in just about a minute or so, but the next 2 deployments are expected to be in an area of blackout, so we may not get coverage of them in this particular sequence. So far in this sequence, we have successfully deployed 10 out of the 14 satellites. So just waiting on those next 4, but we may not get confirmation of those last 4 until a little bit later in the mission.
There you just heard confirmation of 9 satellite deployments confirmed. So that includes the 2 satellites from the first set of deployments.
OneWeb, Sat Delta 4 and Delta 8, separation confirmed. OneWeb, Sat Delta 3 and Delta 7, separation confirmed.
Great news, you see Delta 3 and Delta 7 satellites have successfully deployed.
OneWeb, Sat Charlie 2 and Charlie 6, separation confirmed.
Great confirmation of satellites C2 and C6. And those are the last 2 satellites of the second deployment sequence.
Although we were expecting to start this final deployment sequence in the dark, it looks like we were able to gain connection to our ground station in Kodiak. Now we may lose connection to this ground station in the middle of the deployment sequence, but should be able to regain connection around the T plus 1 hour and 32 minute mark.
OneWeb, Sat Bravo 3, separation confirmed.
More good news there, just successfully deployed OneWeb satellite B3.
OneWeb, Sat Delta 1 and Delta 5, separation confirmed. OneWeb, Sat Delta 2 and Delta 6, separation confirmed.
And there they go, satellite D2 and D6 have deployed. Got some great views of them floating into space there. That brings our total to 36 deployments. There's only 4 left in the mission. We should be deploying the next set in just under a minute. Got some really cool views of space here. Our second stage hanging out.
OneWeb, Sat Echo 2 and Echo 6, separation confirmed.
There we go, 2 more OneWeb satellites have successfully been deployed. That was satellite E2 and E6. Now coming up in about 20 seconds, we will have the final 2 satellites deploying. Currently sitting at 38 out of 40 deployments.
OneWeb, Sat Echo 1 and Echo 5, separation confirmed. 40 OneWeb spacecraft separations confirmed.
And with that call out, we can confirm successful deployment of all 40 OneWeb satellites, which will wrap up our coverage for today.